The RX100 Mark V is widely regarded to be the most powerful point-and-shoot camera, and it's the only point-and-shoot camera that I know of that gives you professional-looking video. I oftentimes look at the video and I'm like, wow, a camera this small got video like that. But there are a few things that most users will need to do to kind of optimize this camera, so let's get right into that. The first thing I want to talk about is actually something kind of physically with the camera. You can only use the internal mics, which is one of the main drawbacks of this camera. But I would recommend getting wind muffs like this, and also kind of trimming them down, customizing them so you can use the viewfinder. I think that's really important, but really just getting wind muffs to avoid wind noise in your video. The next thing I think most users should be doing is adjusting the autofocus speed from normal to fast. That's something that kind of Casey Neistat brought to a lot of people's attention. But when you're vlogging, you're looking in front of you, you flip the screen up, you turn it back towards you, and that autofocus moment is really important. Otherwise your footage starts with a soft image and you get a sharp image afterwards, and that's not really good. Okay, to set that up, it's going to be under the camera icon in the menu. You're going to scroll to subheading 4 and you'll see the AF drive speed. You want that on fast. It comes default to normal, which just doesn't quite cut it. Also, just like an extra tip, go to the focus area. I like this at flexible spot. This way it defaults to the middle, but you can also use the joystick to move it around the screen. I find that to be more precise than the wide focusing mode. The next feature is perhaps one of the coolest features for this camera in my opinion, and that's using the ND filters built into the camera. I mean, most professional mirrorless cameras don't even have built-in ND filters, so it's really nice that this little thing does. I always have it set up to my custom button, which is the trash can. Okay, to access the ND filter, you're going to go into the camera heading again. You're going to go down to number 5, and you'll see ND filter, and this will just engage it or disengage it. Now, to take it a little step further, if you go to the little settings wheel and you go to subheading 5 again, you go down to custom key shoot. I recommend putting the ND as the C button. That way it's just really easily accessible when you're shooting and you don't forget to take it off. It's really easy to forget to take it off. My next tip is for the high frame rate mode. I love the slow motion on this camera. I mean, if you're gonna buy this camera, just alone, the slow motion is great. I think it's important though to not be tempted by the 960 frames per second option, because at that point, there's usually not enough light and the footage is too slow a lot of the time, and it doesn't look good. It's noisy, it's grainy, it's just bleh. I would recommend setting your high frame rate setting to 240 frames per second. That's about 8 times regular speed. And you can slow that down, use optical flow, slow it down even more, and you've got something really, really, really slow. Okay, so to access the high frame rate settings, you're going to go to the camera icon to subheading 2, and you're going to go down to high frame rate settings. The record setting is going to be based on your project. I shoot at 24p. It's actually 10 times slow motion at 24p. 8 times is at 30p. The frame rate I keep at 240 frames per second, and I think that's very important because 240 FPS is the best quality for slowness ratio in my opinion. For this, I always leave it at quality priority. That's always important. And for this, I have it as start trigger, the record timing. This just means when you hit record, it starts recording, and then after that, it takes time to buffer. Finally, the last tip I'd have is the same one I gave for people who have the A6500, and that's activating clear image zoom. This camera has a 20 megapixel sensor, so you can kind of crop in past the normal zoom range of the camera, and it gives you just a little bit extra latitude if there's something far away. If you're vlogging and there's something just a little bit out of reach, it might give you that little extra push. Another fun fact about this camera, it shoots 5K video and it's downsampled to 4K, so you've got a little bit of latitude. Now, one thing that I will note with this setting is when you punch in 2 times with clear image zoom, you're also doubling the amount of noise. So I wouldn't necessarily use this in a low light situation. Okay, so as you can see, I have clear image zoom on, and you can see I have a little bit extra latitude past 70 millimeters. To set this up, you're gonna go to the gear icon to subheading 4, and you're gonna go to the zoom setting, and you're going to activate clear image zoom. So that's kind of it. Those are 5 ways to optimize the RX100 Mark V. I hope I've helped you get the most out of this camera. Subscribe if you're new, and as always, thanks for watching.
See another passenger moving a little faster.